Hello everyone and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's video we're taking a look at something a little bit different in that we're taking a look at a whole bunch of action figures. So between last autumn and sort of the middle of this year, I'd been finishing my university degree and I hadn't had time to make any videos, hence why I took a bit of a sabbatical from YouTube. But in that time, loads of new action figures were revealed and released through B&M and Character Online. So I thought what I'd do today is just take a look at everything that was released over the last year, giving you my brief thoughts, just to get some of my opinions out there about what I think of these figures in one big review. I know that this review isn't strictly relevant because everyone that wants these figures probably has them, but I just thought I'd give you my opinions and yeah, we'll see where it goes. So first of all, we're going to take a look at probably the set that there's the least amount to talk about, which is the Evil of the Daleks set. I believe this was History of the Daleks collector set 7. I might be mistaken. I can't quite remember now, if truth be told. But what they did last year, which was quite good, was that they released the sets out of sequence. This meant that we got the Power of the Daleks set and the Day of the Daleks set together. And then in the autumn, we got the Evil of the Daleks set with the Planet of the Daleks set. This was really good as it broke up the colour schemes of Daleks that we were getting, because a complaint with many, including myself, was that we were getting a lot of silver and blue Daleks. So this rectified that problem, which was nice to see. But there's not a lot to say about these figures. The drone Dalek is significant because it features the pupil eye stalk, which was first seen in Evil of the Daleks. The Daleks themselves have the same dome lights as the Power of the Daleks figure, which is very nice. Again, though, these are just lovely Daleks. The sculpting, the paint apps are wonderful. So that's the Dalek, the drone Dalek, I should say. Next up is the Emperor Guard Dalek, which is pretty much the same as the one released with the second Doctor in the 50th anniversary 2-packs, except we've got the same dome lights. However, now they're in a sort of more orangey colour, and we have the eye stalk, as always, very, very stiff. I mean, I've had these figures for over a year now, or just about a year, and the joints are still very stiff. Apart from that, you know what to expect. It's a 60s Dalek. You've got all the paint, all the sculpting that you've come to expect. And yeah, there's not a great deal to say. You'll notice that one thing that I rarely do in my reviews is do the articulation for Daleks, but that's because you know what to expect. So you've got the swivel at the head, the eye stalk, the plunger and the gun, and it's on 3 wheels. So that was the Evil of the Daleks set. A very nice set, even if there's not a great deal to say about it. Next up, we may as well continue with the Dalek theme and take a look at this set, which was the first, I should say, Planet of the Daleks set, because this one was quite divisive when it was first revealed. I remember seeing when this set was revealed and thinking, oh, is that it? Because it was just 2 drone Daleks, or what appeared to be 2 drone Daleks, which were previously revealed in the Day of the Daleks set. So it was like there was nothing new there, until we got them. And the Daleks featured this amazing feature where you could lift up the dome and inside is a printed decal of the Dalek mutant, which it was just the best thing on earth when I got these figures, because that is such a fantastic feature. It does make the Daleks a hair taller than the previous ones. If I just bring in the Evil of the Daleks figure, you can just see that they are a whisper taller, but that's to accommodate the new hinge on the dome, which you can see from the back here. So you can see that it is quite prominent, but you're never going to display the Dalek from the back. Like many, I always have my Daleks displayed like this because it's just such a fantastic feature. Aside from that, there's not a great deal to say. It is pretty much the same figure that we had in the Day of the Daleks set. We've got this lovely gunmetal grey paint finish on the Dalek. It's lovely. What is worth noting, however, is the new sculpt on the eye stalk. We now have the 4 discs, all of the same length and depth and everything like that, and that is a really nice bit of attention to detail, and it just looks fantastic on the shelf. These are two of my favourite Dalek figures. So that's the Daleks out of the way. What we'll take a look at next is let's look at the Earthshock set. So this set included the 5th Doctor and the 2 androids seen in Earthshock Part 1. So I'm going to move one of these out of the way, mainly because it doesn't stand up very well, because they are the same figure and you only really need to look at the one. So looking at the android, first of all, this once again uses the Sharaz Jek Axon Man body, which was also used on the Sensorite and the Vord, and also the Rastan Warrior robot over there, but more on him later. We do, however, have new hands and a new head sculpt. The new head sculpt is fantastic. It doesn't come across very well on camera because it's all black, but you can just see that you do have the face shield as a separate part, which has been painted with a gloss black against the back of the head, which is a matte black, which is very nice. Apart from that, the rest of the figure is just a matte black. You've got all of the regular creases and details that you've come to expect from this body mold. However, now you have the new hands, which do have the blasters in the palms of the hands, which is a fantastic bit of attention to detail. On the other hand, we have more of like a relaxed palm. But what's really nice about these android figures, and is what you could sort of call a first for the range, is you got some alternate hands. So these are the alternate hands for both androids, but they are just relaxed palms, so more relaxed than you can see just there. This one's more outstretched than this one, and obviously you've got a relaxed palm for the shooting hand. So that's a really nice accessory, and I'm really glad that Character Options decided to do that. Moving the androids out of the way, we'll have a look at the 5th Doctor, which on face value you wouldn't think there's much to, but there actually is, because he has the paint deco also, which was previously used in the Visitation set. So the coat is a bit darker than the previous one. I really should have got the old figure, the original season 19 figure, for a comparison, but it's downstairs and I completely forgot. My bad. We have the jumper, which is a more crisp white. The lines on the jumper are far more prominent now than they ever have been before. Apart from that, got a fantastic paint deco on the face. One of the best 5th Doctor head sculpts that they've done, or paint applications that they've done on this particular head. We've got the celery, which looks fantastic. But then the thing that sets this figure apart from the other season 19 5th Doctors is the mud. So you can see the mud effect on the trainers and the bottom of the trousers, and actually extending all the way up the side of the left leg and all the way onto his coat, a bit like the Caves of Androzani 5th Doctor seen a few years ago. So I'm not sure about this. I mean, obviously he does spend most of part 1 crawling around the cave. I'm not sure he ever gets that muddied up to the point where it would be everywhere on his coat and on his trousers. But it's a nice, you know, variant to have on the shelf. It looks pretty good. Yeah, I quite like this figure, actually. It's really nicely painted. And yeah, it's fantastic. Although I do think now we have exhausted all the possible variants of the 5th Doctor, unless they were going to give us a Planet of Fire 5th Doctor where he has the waistcoat. I think he's wearing a waistcoat in that story. I might be mistaken. And he's got the question mark braces. That would be a nice figure to own, but apart from that, I can't imagine them doing any other 5th Doctor variants, apart from straight up re-releases. Also in the Earthshock set, much to everyone's surprise, was this, which is the cyber bomb used in part 1, I believe it is. This is just a hollow bit of plastic you can see here, but it's actually really nice. The detail is fantastic on this. Character Options didn't have to give us this accessory, but I'm really glad they did, and it just adds something a little bit more to the shelf when these figures are on display. You can even see the numbers there. The paint apps for the buttons. It's just a fantastic accessory. So that's the Earthshock set. Next up, we'll have a look at let's have a look at the 5 Doctors set. Let's keep on the 80s theme. So this set, you might see that I have 2 of them on the display here, and that's because there is a slight variant, but we'll get to the boxed one in a second. So first of all, we'll take a look at the Raster and Warrior robot. Same principle as the androids. Uses the Shower's Jack, Axon Man, body mold. Again, different head. Surprisingly, a unique sculpt. I thought that this and the android would have shared the same head, just repainted. But no, it isn't. It's a brand new sculpt, which is fantastic. Really, really liking that. You, of course, get different hands. You get them with the parting, as if to show that he's just fired the projectiles at the Cybermen in the death zone, and the hands look absolutely fantastic. It would have been nice to have got a few spears and arrow accessories, but I'm not complaining at that. This is just an absolutely fantastic figure, and it looks great on the shelf. Always been a fan of the Raster and Warrior robot. It's one of my favourite classic monsters, and to have it in figure form is fantastic. Next up, we'll have a look at the Cyber Leader. Finally, we have a 1980s Cyber Leader that isn't the Silver Nemesis Cyber Leader. This figure uses the Attack of the Cybermen body, which was previously used in, I think, a B&M set in 2016 or 2017. So you've got the lace-up boots here, which look fantastic. And I believe that these originally appeared on the Rogue Cyberman in the set, the Attack of the Cybermen set that came with Perry. And that was many years ago now. Apart from that, you've got, you know what to expect from an 80s Cyberman. The detail here is incredible. It's one of the best sculpted Doctor Who figures, period. Looks fantastic. The head sculpt is just incredible. The gun, you know what to expect. Looks great. Overall, this is just a wonderful figure. The only difference being the now black and silver handlebars, which it's such a small difference, but it makes a lot of difference on the shelf, and it just looks wonderful. So that's the Cyber Leader. But the main star of the show for this set was the 3rd Doctor. Now this set, when it was announced, everyone thought, oh, we might be getting a fur coat 2nd Doctor, because we previously had the fur coat 2nd Doctor in the Abominable Snowmen set. But no, we got the 3rd Doctor, and what a great looking figure this is. The paint apps on the head are really crisp and look just like John Pertwee. You've got the open collar shirt, which was previously used on the regenerated 4th Doctor figure. You've got the purple jacket, which appears more maroon colour on camera, but it's more of a purple in real life, with the nice red piping along the sides. The cloak looks wonderful. The detail and the creases, you know what to expect. We've had this cloak before, but the paint apps now just look fantastic and give it that really nice tweed effect. You've got the trousers and the boots in a black. That looks fantastic. Overall, this is just a brilliant figure to have on the shelf. Now, you might remember that I mentioned that this set had a variant, and this is it. I've kept this one in the box only because it's only a slight variant in that the Cyberman is a Cyberman and not the Cyber Leader. You can tell by the silver handlebars. I'm not sure why this was released as a variant. I'm glad it was, because it just adds a little bit more to the shelf. And if you missed out on the 80s Cyberman, this is a fantastic set for you. I decided to pick it up just because I'm a completist and I like having every figure that's ever been made. But this one looks great in the packaging. Looking at the packaging, I may as well, whilst we're here, it's what you've come to expect from the B&M range. And I'm just trying to not knock over figures. You've got the 3 figures on the back. Interestingly, and this was something that I mentioned in my reviews of the recent sets from 2022, is that the new sets don't feature the images of the figures, but instead a big write-up on the story and the behind the scenes of the figures that are inspired by the show. Instead here we just have images of the 3 figures, which makes it look a little bit plain. I think I would have preferred the 3 figures and then a small bio on the 5 Doctors. But that's the packaging, and that's a little look at the 5 Doctors variant set. Next up, we'll have a look at the final set released as a part of the Winter 2021 B&M range, which was the First Doctor and Tardis. Looking at the Doctor first, people have been clamouring for a re-release of the Unearthly Child First Doctor, but apparently, from what I've read, the cape and scarf mould was damaged. I'm not quite sure how or why, but apparently it was, which is why we've got this quite unusual variant of the Doctor without the cloak, but with the scarf, which I don't remember him ever looking like this in the episode. But it's a nice variant. He's got the closed up jacket as per the original Unearthly Child figure. And then you've got the darker brown legs and check patterned look, which was seen, I think, in the Sensorite set last year. Not sure if this is accurate. I think the grey trousers are more accurate, but it's still a nice figure. The paint apps on the face are really nice. Maybe a little bit washed out. There isn't a great deal of detail in there because the paint apps kind of hide all the detail, but it's still really nice. The hair looks fantastic, as does the hat. Apologies if some of these figures look a bit dusty, by the way. They have been on my shelf for nearly a year now. But yeah, that's the First Doctor. Really, really nice figure. Looking at the TARDIS, this is just fantastic. This is a fantastic rendition of the TARDIS. You've got that really battered appearance as it looks in An Unearthly Child. You've got the weathered, washed out windows. You've got the St. John's Ambulance badge, which is sort of almost non-existent, which looks great. You've got, looking closer, you've got the pull to open sign, which looks all distressed. The box itself has this really nice wash to it, which gives it a slightly green look. You've got some greens and some browns mixed in with the blues. It just looks fantastic. It's an absolutely brilliant TARDIS. Again, as per all of the recent B&M TARDISes, this is just there because it's the mould. They aren't actually sound effects or light up TARDISes. But yeah, what a fantastic, fantastic set. The windows are a new sculpt, it has to be said, because the windows now feature the window ledge, which was used on the original Peter Prokaki prop, which is a very nice little detail. But of course, the main attraction for this set is the new roof piece. This gives the TARDIS a much taller look. You can see if I just zoom out there, and it looks great. As well, there is a new lantern, which if I bring the TARDIS back, I've got to do it on the side because otherwise I won't get it into shot. But the new lantern looks fantastic. It's a brilliant sculpt that really looks like the one that was used on the show. And yeah, it looks brilliant. You can unfortunately tell where the new sculpt for the roof was just stuck on the original TARDIS mould, but that really doesn't bother me, and you can't tell from a distance. So yeah, that looks absolutely fantastic. A brilliant TARDIS set, and overall just a great set. Now, after the B&M wave of last autumn came this set, which was the robot set. This was in, I want to say March, maybe February. You might notice that the robot is a little bit wobbly. I'll have a look at the robot first. This is effectively a re-release of the original Build-A-Figure K1 robot that was released way back with the first wave of classic figures back in 2008. And it's since become a very rare figure, so people have been wanting a re-release of it. But rather than just give us a straight-up re-release, they've decided to tweak and improve the original figure so that us collectors that have been collecting since the start have something new. So you can see that the original red paint apps, which were on the original, are now a more pinkish hue. That includes this great lens at the top. It looks fantastic. You've got the black trim for the sort of mouth guard, which was missing on the original. You've got the gun, and now a little bit of new sculpting is this arm, which you can see is very thin compared to this other arm. It's only 1 layer thick, whereas this is 2. The original Build-A-Figure just had 2 of this type of arm. That isn't accurate. To be honest, that's not something I ever really noticed, but I appreciate the fact that they went back and changed it and made it more accurate. But if you've got the original Build-A-Figure or this new one, you know what to expect. The detailing and the sculpting is fantastic. The articulation's great. It's just a great figure. The only problem is, like I said, it's very wobbly, but that's just as a consequence of the original Build-A-Figure mold, and the fact that having to connect all these parts together means that the top is very top heavy compared to the thin legs. So that's the K1 robot, looks fantastic. And then we have the 4th Doctor. If I just move these Silurians more to the back. There we go. So again, we've had this figure before. This was released originally in the first wave of classic figures back in 2008, but now we have a completely revised paint scheme. So if you look at the head sculpt, we've got the solemn head and the hat, which was first used on the 11 Doctors, 4th Doctor, I believe. The paint apps are absolutely fantastic, and it really looks like Tom Baker. Just brilliant. But the big differences are the changes to the jacket. Now we have a much more bright red for the safari jacket, which I think is more accurate. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but I think it is, and it looks brilliant. It really stands out on the shelf. It looks great. We've got also new paint apps on the cravat, but before I believe it was just a plain green. Now we've got the pattern on it, which looks even better, as well as the paint apps on the cardigan and the shirt, which were there before, but now look even more strong, especially next to the new coloured safari jacket and the cravat. The scarf is very nicely painted as per usual. It looks brilliant, painted on both sides as we've come to expect. This one is very stiff though. Some of the scarves have been very rubbery. This one really isn't. It's quite, you can see it really doesn't move at all, which is quite interesting. And then the other big difference is the trousers, which now have the speckled effect previously used on the Terror of the Autons figure. That gives it that nice sort of textured fabric look, and yeah, it just looks fantastic on the shelf. Overall, a big improvement over the original 2008 release, although that figure still holds a special place in my heart. So finally, last but not least, we have this, which was not a B&M release, but rather a character online exclusive release, along the same lines as the Jungles of Mechanus and 2nd Doctor in Fur Coat and Tardis set, which is the Silurians from Warriors of the Deep. I'm just going to bring in the camera a little bit closer for these figures, just because there's nothing else now on the review station. So these are all the same sculpt. This is effectively 3 of the same figure, so I'm just going to be focusing on one. But the sculpts are incredible on these guys. You can see the head sculpts. They look fantastic. Ironically, they might even look a bit better than they did on screen. So props to character for that one. So the head sculpts are fantastic. The only difference between the 3 of them is that one of them has the red light at the top painted and the other 2 don't, which, if you remember, in Warriors of the Deep denotes that this one is speaking, which is a slightly strange creative choice, but nevertheless it looks good on figure form. You've got the main bulk torso, which is a sort of hollow bit of plastic you might be able to hear, but then you've got the arms, which are ball jointed, which is quite nice. You've got the nice scaled pattern on the arms, which is a new sculpt, as well as the wrist communicator, which looks fantastic. I believe a new sculpt for the hands, which look brilliant. But then, quite surprisingly, the legs are a reuse of the Sea Devil legs, which is very apt given the connection between the Silurians and the Sea Devils in Doctor Who. But again, you can see just how well detailed these legs are. They look fantastic. And then you've got the new feet, which are a brand new sculpt for these figures, and they just look fantastic. having a set of 3, there are 3 Silurians in the story and they just look wonderful. This set as well came in quite lavish packaging, which had the Silurian base in a sort of diorama form. Unfortunately, I have thrown that away. I wish I hadn't, because I could show it in this video, but I'm sure other reviewers have given a better look at the packaging. So there we go. That's every Doctor Who figure that was released between last autumn and this summer. It was a very quick review. I would have given a lot more detail probably had I reviewed them at the time, but I just thought I'd give my quick summaries of each figure, letting you know what I think. And yeah, overall, us Doctor Who collectors have had a pretty good year in terms of figures, especially classic Doctor Who figures. Although it would have been nice maybe to have a few new series figures thrown in here and there, as I am starting to feel as if the B&M range is very classic oriented, which admittedly it is, but it would be nice to see some new Who, you know, just spread amongst there slightly, just to give us a bit more variety from all eras of the show. But no, overall, we've had some absolutely fantastic figures, and by all accounts, the rest of the year, we're going to be having some even better action figures coming up. So stay tuned for those reviews when the winter 2022 B&M range is released. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time for another Doctor Who action figure review, or another Doctor Who related review. I'm not entirely sure what the next video is going to be, but I'll see you then. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.